What if the very thing most people tell you to pursue after 60 is actually the thing that can steal your peace, your freedom, and even your happiness? For decades, men have been told the same story. Find a woman, get into a relationship, never grow old alone. It sounds reasonable. But what if that advice was designed for a completely different stage of life? And what if, after 60, the rules change completely? Most men never realize this until it's too late. You see, many senior men spend decades building a life. They survive financial struggles, family responsibilities, career pressure, heartbreak, divorce, and countless sacrifices. By the time they reach their 60s, something remarkable happens. For the first time in years, they finally experience freedom. Freedom to wake up when they want, freedom to spend money how they choose, freedom to enjoy hobbies, travel, friendships, and peace of mind. Yet strangely, many men immediately rush to give that freedom away. Why? Because society quietly convinces them that being alone means being lonely. But here's where it gets interesting. Being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. In fact, many older men discover that they feel more relaxed, confident, and emotionally stable when they are no longer trying to meet the constant expectations that often come with romantic relationships. Now, this doesn't mean all relationships are bad. Pay close attention because this changes everything. The issue isn't women. The issue is entering a relationship for the wrong reasons. Many senior men start dating again because they fear loneliness, boredom, or aging itself. They believe a girlfriend will solve those feelings. But what happens next may surprise you. Instead of gaining happiness, some men find themselves dealing with new emotional demands, new conflicts, and new pressures they thought they had left behind years ago. And this leads directly to the first major reason many men over 60 regret getting into a relationship. A reason almost nobody talks about openly. And once you understand it, you'll never look at late life dating the same way again. So stay with me, because reason number one reveals a psychological truth that most men completely overlook. Reason number one, your freedom becomes negotiation. The first reason many men over 60 should think very carefully before getting a girlfriend is surprisingly simple. You finally own your time. And the moment a serious relationship begins, that time often stops belonging entirely to you. Now, before anyone misunderstands this, relationships always require compromise. That's normal. But after 60, compromise feels very different than it did at 30. When you were younger, you were still building your life. Sacrificing time and energy for a relationship felt like part of the journey. But now, you've already paid that price. You've spent decades meeting obligations, solving problems, and putting other people's needs ahead of your own. For many men, retirement or later life is the first opportunity to truly live on their own terms. Then, a new relationship enters the picture. At first, everything feels exciting. Daily phone calls, weekend plans, constant texting, shared activities. The attention feels refreshing. The companionship feels comforting. But here's where it gets interesting. What begins as companionship can slowly become expectation. The morning routine you enjoyed alone suddenly requires coordination. The spontaneous fishing trip now requires explanation. The peaceful afternoon you planned for yourself may become someone's disappointment. Most men never realize this because it happens gradually. No single event seems significant. Yet month after month, more of your schedule becomes connected to another person's emotional needs. And that's when many older men experience something unexpected. They don't feel trapped by the woman, they feel trapped by the loss of autonomy. Psychologically, freedom becomes far more valuable as men age. Why? Because older men increasingly prioritize peace over excitement. They value control over their environment. They seek stability rather than emotional drama. This shift is completely natural, yet many men ignore it when entering a relationship. What happens next may surprise you. Some men discover they miss their previous lifestyle more than they enjoy their new relationship. Not because the woman is bad, not because anyone made a mistake, but because the emotional cost of maintaining the relationship becomes greater than the emotional benefit it provides. And that brings us to an even deeper issue, an issue involving something many senior men protect more fiercely than money, status, or even freedom itself: their peace of mind. And reason 2 explains exactly why that peace can disappear faster than most men imagine. Reason 2: peace becomes more valuable than passion. There is a lesson many men learn only after decades of experience, and once they learn it, they can never unlearn it. The lesson is this: peace is priceless. When you're young, passion often feels like the most important thing in the world. The excitement, the attraction, the emotional highs, the thrill of being wanted. But after 60, many men begin viewing life through a completely different lens. They've already experienced the highs and lows of relationships. They've witnessed arguments that started over nothing. They've endured emotional misunderstandings. They've spent years navigating expectations, disappointments, and conflicts. As a result, something fascinating happens. Many older men become addicted to calm. Not excitement, not drama, calm. Most men never realize how valuable emotional peace is until they finally have it. Imagine waking up without stress, no emotional tension, no pressure to explain yourself, no need to manage another person's moods, just quiet confidence and stability. For many senior men, that feeling becomes one of life's greatest rewards. But here's where it gets interesting. A new relationship can unintentionally disrupt that balance, not because women are difficult, not because relationships are bad, but because relationships naturally introduce emotional complexity. Even healthy relationships require emotional energy. There are expectations, miscommunications, differences in priorities, moments of insecurity, moments of frustration. And while younger men may have the energy and desire to navigate those challenges constantly, many older men simply don't find the trade-off worthwhile anymore. What happens next may surprise you. Some men begin missing the peace they had before the relationship started. They find themselves thinking less about attraction and more about tranquility, less about companionship and more about simplicity. This psychological shift catches many men off guard because society keeps telling them they should want romance. But internally, they may want something entirely different. They may want freedom from emotional turbulence. Pay close attention because this changes everything. The older a man becomes, the more he often values environments that protect his mental well-being. And this leads directly to another reality few people discuss openly, a reality involving expectations. Because the truth is, many senior men enter relationships believing life will become easier. Yet sometimes the exact opposite happens. And reason number 3 reveals why expectations can quietly become one of the biggest hidden costs of late life relationships. What you're about to hear is something most men never see coming. Reason 3: the hidden cost of expectations and emotional dependency. By the time a man reaches 60, he has usually learned one truth the hard way: nothing in life is truly free. Everything comes with a price. And in relationships, that price is often expectations. At first, expectations seem harmless. In fact, they can even feel flattering. Someone wants your attention. Someone wants your time. Someone enjoys being around you. That sounds positive. But here's where it gets interesting. Expectations rarely stay the same. They grow, slowly, almost invisibly. A weekly phone call becomes a daily routine. Occasional visits become regular obligations. Personal decisions become shared decisions. And before long, some men begin feeling responsible not only for their own happiness, but for someone else's emotional well-being as well. Most men never realize this transition is happening until they feel the weight of it. Now imagine you've spent decades working, sacrificing, and carrying responsibilities. Retirement finally arrives. You expect fewer obligations, more freedom, more relaxation. Yet suddenly, new expectations begin replacing old ones. The names may change, the responsibilities may look different, but the pressure can feel surprisingly familiar. And that's where reason number 3 emerges. Many senior men underestimate how much emotional responsibility a relationship can require. But the next reason goes even deeper. Reason 4 is emotional dependency. This is a topic few people discuss openly because it sounds uncomfortable, yet it affects countless relationships. When two people become emotionally dependent on one another, their happiness can become tied to circumstances they cannot fully control. A disagreement feels bigger, distance feels heavier. Small problems create larger emotional reactions. What happens next may surprise you. Many older men discover they were actually happier when their emotional stability came from within rather than from another person. Psychologists often describe this as internal versus external validation. Men with strong internal validation don't need constant reassurance to feel secure. Their confidence comes from their values, routines, friendships, goals, and sense of purpose. And after 60, that inner stability becomes incredibly valuable. Pay close attention because this changes everything. The final reason on this list isn't about freedom. It isn't about peace. It isn't even about expectations. It's about something far more important, something that determines whether a man's later years become truly fulfilling or quietly disappointing. And once you understand reason number 5, you'll see why so many wise older men choose a path that most people never expect. Reason 5, never let a relationship replace your purpose. Now we've arrived at the most important reason of all, the reason that ties everything together. And if you remember only one lesson from this video, make it this one. A girlfriend should never become the center of your life, especially after 60. Most men assume the greatest danger is losing money, freedom, or independence. But the real danger is much deeper. It's losing your purpose. You see, purpose is what gives a man direction. It's the reason he gets out of bed in the morning. It's the goals he pursues, the hobbies he enjoys, the friendships he maintains, the skills he continues developing, the legacy he leaves behind. Without purpose, even the best relationship can feel empty. But here's what most men never realize. Many people enter relationships hoping another person will fill a void inside them. They hope companionship will eliminate loneliness. They hope romance will create meaning. They hope affection will replace purpose. And for a short time, it can feel like it works. But what happens next may surprise you. The excitement fades, the novelty fades, and eventually, the same unanswered questions return. Who am I? What am I building? What gives my life meaning? That's why many of the happiest men over 60 are not necessarily the men with girlfriends. They're the men with purpose. Some travel, some mentor younger people, some build businesses, some pursue fitness goals, some spend time with family, some develop passions they never had time to explore earlier in life. The common denominator isn't relationship status, it's purpose. Now, does this mean senior men should never have a girlfriend? Not necessarily. The real message is much more powerful. Never enter a relationship because you're afraid of being alone. Never sacrifice your freedom, peace, identity, or purpose just to satisfy social expectations. A relationship should complement your life, not become your life. When a man understands that, he approaches dating from a position of strength rather than need. And that's when he becomes truly confident. So remember the 5 reasons we discussed today. Protect your freedom, protect your peace, be aware of expectations, avoid emotional dependency, and above all, protect your purpose. Because when purpose leads your life, every other decision becomes clearer. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into female psychology, attraction, relationships, and masculine self-development. And now tell me in the comments, do you think a man over 60 is happier with a girlfriend or with complete freedom? I'd love to hear your perspective.